Hello and welcome to the Understanding Narcissists YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I want to talk about kind of a little nugget. If you've been watching this channel for some time or you've seen all the videos, you'll know that I think it was in September, it was months ago when I first started this channel, that I did a video on the 3 stages of realization upon learning that someone is a narcissist. So if you are experiencing a narcissist in whatever way, there were 3 distinct steps that you had to go through to ultimately accept that this was a narcissistic person, especially when it's your first experience with a narcissist. So the 3 stages are: the first stage, which is the moment where you begin to suspect something, where you think something is amiss, something is wrong, but you don't want to deal with it, so much like them, you kind of bury it all deep down, and you're in denial about their state of mind, their disorder, their narcissism, but you're aware of it. So now you begin actively doing things where that help you keep that buried down, that help you continue to deny it and remain as a codependent. But the seeds have been planted. There are some problems, and you can't deny them. And that's why you're denying them in the first place. You have to create this construct in order to be able to grapple with these ideas, and then therefore be able to continue with what you're doing and justify it. The next stage is when something happens, something usually bad, something destructive, that forces you, that really pushes you out of the codependent position because it is no longer a tenable situation. You actually just cannot live like that anymore. And usually it happens when you become so fed up with them. You start to see the pattern because those seeds have been planted, and you understand that something is wrong, even if you've been able to deny it. You start to deny it less and less, and you start to consider that something is terribly wrong. And sometimes there's someone like me telling you that, saying this is narcissism, this is how it works, this is what your experience will be. And then so you've got kind of another voice in your ear, so you're not in complete isolation anymore. And that's when you get to the wavering point, where you kind of oscillate between a point of believing that they're a narcissist and not believing it. Because now you're stuck in this really confusing world where they're constantly working on you, and they do something nice and you think, oh, they are good, oh, they are nice. And then the reality hits you again, and you realize it's all a ruse, it's all fake, it's all an illusion, but you still can't accept it. So there's this level of self-awareness about the situation, and then the desire to go back into the fantasy, to go back into your really suspension of disbelief so that you can continue living and you don't have to act, you don't have to do anything because it's too scary. The third stage is when now you believe something is wrong. You may know the depths, but you probably don't. You probably don't know just how sick they are and how destructive they are. But now you've made the decision in your mind that you need to leave, that something has to change, and it's going to be a new life without them. Now, obviously this applies, I don't like that word, but obviously this applies more to relationships. It's more about if you're really, that's when you're really most wrapped up with a narcissist naturally. It can still be in other relationship capacities, though. It can still be professional. It'll still have that arc to it. But this one I'm going in more depth because if it is a relationship, you can apply this to everything because the relationship is more complicated than those other types of interactions with a narcissist. And so that's why I'm talking more about I don't want to say romantic, but the romantic side of it, which is where you are a partner with a narcissist or a spouse or a whatever, and in that capacity, that's when things are most complicated, and anything I teach you about that will apply to the other relationships. because they're really basically trying to get everybody to be their parent, to be their caretaker. And anything that applies to you, if you're in that role, it will apply in any situation. So it's equally valid and really more useful because I get to talk about more in-depth stuff, so you'll know everything in every situation. And in that third stage, that's when the narcissist starts to pick up on it. Now, they've already noticed, maybe even in stage 1, but definitely in stage 2, that you're wavering and they need to convert you. But especially in stage 3, when you're pulling out, their response is going to be the crazy response, which is that's when they've really become unhinged and they can no longer really handle it anymore. They've lost their sense of control, and so things kind of have to go into overdrive, and they become much more unpredictable because now you're at that latter stage where everything is sort of falling apart and your mind is someplace else. You're thinking of something entirely different. You're no longer in the illusion. Now, it's worth noting too that their response in each stage is a little bit different. Stage 1 is pretty simple because that's simply a matter of trying to pull you back over and help you kind of help along your denial. Stage 2 is more complicated because that's when they start to lay out the game. The whole narcissism, to narcissists, everything is a game. It is simply a way of putting up a facade to fool people. And if one facade doesn't work, you put another one up. And you make it, and what do? You pretend like it's not a facade. You pretend like it's not a game. But it's all the same. They're making the rules, they're making the games. And at each of those stages is a different game. Particularly at stage 2 is where it gets complicated because that's when they start laying out all these different paths for you to take. These false paths so you don't get to stage 3. And in particular, the game they're going to want you to play is one of battling them, engaging them, playing a keeping that conflict going, even if it's in an adversarial way, an oppositional way, where you're fighting them. They want that to be the game, and they want to steer you to where, oh, we have problems, oh, it's tumultuous, but we still love each other, and this is just a process we're going through. And that's where they can still feel like they can still facilitate a lot of control at that stage with another illusion. And if you buy into it, you will continue to be at that stage, and they're just going to try to pull you back into complacency, back into denial, back into stage 1. The problem with that, as it turns out, is that it's not terribly effective. Unbeknownst to them, what they're really doing is indulging their superiority complex. Well, it's really an inferiority complex, but they're indulging their conceited minds because they don't realize that the very fact that you're already in those stages means that it is over for them. They can elongate it. They can stretch it out, but because they're narcissists and they're so wrapped up in themselves and that denial and they live that way, they don't realize that you can't live that way yourself. They don't get that. They really don't get it. They actually believe that they're going to keep you in that conflict, in that knot, and that it is sustainable. That's their core belief, because it has been for them. That's how they've been forced to live. But you are fundamentally not like them, and so that definition really doesn't work because it doesn't apply to you. And what I'm saying is that once you start along that path, there is no going back. That's kind of the final illusion to me, because once that little bit of denial is at work, and you have to continue, you have to compensate more and more in order to believe their illusion, it's already over because it's not sustainable. It just takes and takes and takes. There's nothing from it. There's no value coming from it, and so therefore it holds the seeds of its own destruction. Narcissists have within them the seeds of their own destruction, which is going to be a topic of another video. But that is such an important point to drive home, because it's something that when you're in the illusion, you don't feel or believe because it feels like you're going to be stuck there forever. And it's also because they're imposing that on you because they actually believe that this is a sustainable process, and it just simply isn't. And so that's what's really fascinating to me and amazing to me about the whole thing. That's kind of the big arc. So I hope this wasn't too much info. I hope you liked the video. Like it if you do. Share it with somebody you think might benefit from it. Comment in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.